Alright guys, you're doing the virtual version of the Pendulum Lab. You're going to click on this one right here, the one that says Lab, and you're going to see this screen. So your goal is going to be to test all the variables that might affect the period of this pendulum. So remember, period means I start somewhere like here. It's the time it'll take to swing and come back. That's one period, 2 periods, 3 periods. That's what my period is. It's the time it takes to do one full cycle, to swing over and back. That's one period. So down here, you have a stopwatch, which you'll need to time it, unless you want to use your phone, but I find this a lot easier. And when we do a scientific experiment, we have to control it. Okay, what a controlled experiment means is it's that you vary only one variable at a time. We're only going to change one variable at a time. So it's going to be up to you to brainstorm different things that might affect this pendulum, right? Maybe the length will affect how long it takes to swing. Maybe the mass of the object will affect how long it takes to swing. Um, stuff like that. So what you have to do is only test one variable at a time. Maybe you think the height, how high up you drag it, maybe here versus here. Maybe you think that will affect how long the period is. So let's do one example together to get you guys rolling, because you're going to investigate pendulums and then also a spring oscillator. So if I wanted to test one variable at a time, let's say I wanted to test mass. So mass should be the only thing I change between my trials in order to determine if mass affects my period or not. So what that means is I have to control everything else. I have to keep it the same. If I want to test mass, I'm only testing mass. I'm not going to change the length in between periods. I'm not going to change how high I bring it in between periods. If I want to find out if mass affects the period of this pendulum, I'm only going to be changing mass. So let's pick a consistent height to drop from. Let's drop from, I don't know, we'll do 50 degrees. I'll drop it, we'll time the period, and then we'll change the mass, then time it again, and we'll see if that changed. So pause that. You can pause it and drag it so it stays there. And then when you click play on this stopwatch, it's not going to count until we click play down here. So I'm going to click play. I'm going to time one period. I'm going to time the time it takes to swing over and back to the initial starting position. So I do that and stop. That was pretty close there. Now, if we want more accurate results, my first trial, I got 1.85 for my period. However, to get better results, to get more accurate results, I should do multiple trials and then take the average. So let's do 3 trials. So I would write this down. This would be trial 1. I'm going to reset my timer and go from, again, the same angle, the same 50 degrees, same length of the string. Let's do another trial. Forgot to hit play on the stopwatch. So that time I got 1.82, and we will do it again. That time I got 1.84. So I would add those 3 trials up and divide by 3 to find the average, and I would get my period for this mass. Now the only thing I'm going to change, because I'm testing mass, is my mass. Let's put this back to the right height. Not touching the length. I'm going to change the mass. Let's make it a drastic change so we can see if it actually affects it or not. Let's crank it all the way up. I'll hit play on this, and we'll test this period. So right there, 1.82. Again, we should do multiple trials to get the best results. .84, and last trial, 1.81. So all of those trials basically had around 1.82 seconds, right? The period was 1.82 seconds. It was 1.82 seconds for a small mass, and it was 1.82 seconds for a big mass. So that tells me that mass does not affect the period of my pendulum. It's not going to matter what this mass is. They'll have the same periods no matter what this mass is. So it's up to you. I want you to test out the rest of the variables, test out the length, test out starting heights, test out whatever you think might affect it. And you're going to have to convince me without a doubt that certain variables are what affect the period of the pendulum.